When we think of dangerous places, most of us imagine dark alleyways, deserted neighborhoods, or some abandoned house on the outskirts of town. But what happens when the fear doesn't come from somewhere unfamiliar, but from the place that should have felt the safest? A healing vacation, a night lit with joy and music, or a charming, well-mannered guest? All of it could just be a mask for something much darker, lurking right behind you. In today's video, you'll hear 3 true stories, fragments of haunting memories that unfolded on cruises that were supposed to be peaceful. 3 people, 3 experiences, and one chilling thing in common. They never saw life the same way again. After that trip, put your headphones on, turn off the lights, and get ready to step into the darkness where there is no way out. Story 1. The Man from My Memory. This story happened not long ago, but I've spent years trying to forget it. Not because it was painful, although it was, but because it changed the way I see the world. My name is Shelby, and I lost my husband Antonio in a motorcycle accident. That was 8 years ago. We always talked about going to Greece. It was his dream, one we never got around to. There was always work, always another excuse. After he died, I promised myself I'd go. I didn't right away, but in 2018 I finally booked the trip. I chose a cruise. I thought it would be safer than traveling alone. I was 36, childless, and still grieving. I thought maybe the sea could soften the edges of my sorrow. The first night after leaving Athens, I had a few too many martinis. Okay, more than a few. I ended up at a nameless bar in Santorini staring into my glass. That's when I saw him. He was standing across the bar. Mid-40s, long brown hair, unshaven. Not unattractive, but strange. He wasn't looking around like most solo travelers do. He was looking directly at me. At first I thought maybe he found me familiar, or maybe I just looked vulnerable. But there was something about his stare. It wasn't flirtatious. It wasn't curious. It was focused, intense, like he was trying to memorize every line on my face. I paid my bill and left. I didn't think much of it afterward, not until a few nights later. I was in Mykonos, sitting alone again, another outdoor bar. The sun was setting, and then I saw him. Same clothes, same posture, arms crossed, leaning on a streetlight far across the plaza. I couldn't tell if he was looking at me, but his head was tilted in my direction. A chill ran down my spine. I looked away, tried to steady my breath. When I looked back, he was gone. But the feeling wasn't. I couldn't shake the sensation that someone was nearby, watching, waiting. I walked back to the ship with a random couple just to feel safer. That night, I didn't go to bed. I walked the ship's hallways. I searched every lounge. I even peeked into the bar, but I never saw him. The next morning, we docked in Volos. I didn't go ashore. Instead, I stood by the gangway and watched every single passenger exit. I didn't see him. Not once. By the time we reached Thessaloniki, our last stop, I told myself I'd imagined it all. Maybe I was just projecting grief onto strangers. And then I saw him again. He was standing in the middle of a narrow street, arms at his sides, not moving. Just there. But this time I didn't freeze. I shouted, "Who are you?" and started walking toward him. He didn't answer. He ran. He darted into an alley and I chased him. I turned the corner just seconds after he did, but the alley was empty. No doors, no stairs, just stone walls and silence. When I got home, I couldn't stop thinking about it, so I started searching, not even knowing what for. Eventually, I found something. A missing persons report. A man reported lost at sea off the coast of Parga 2 years ago to the day. The same day Antonio died. And the photo, it looked exactly like the man who had followed me. I called the police. I gave them everything I had. They listened quietly, then told me something that made my blood run cold. That case was closed a month ago. The man was confirmed dead. Body recovered. Same man. Same date. Same name as my husband. Antonio. The only city where I never saw him. Ephesus, the one stop on the cruise, not in Greece, but in Turkey. I'm not a believer in the paranormal. I never have been. But last summer at my niece's wedding in Athens, I caught a glimpse of a man standing by the bar. Same posture, same hair, same face. When I blinked, he was gone. Was it grief? Guilt? A ghost? I don't know what followed me across the Aegean, but I know it had his eyes. Story 2. Signal from the darkness. I don't think I really understood how vulnerable you are until I lost my phone. Not just misplaced it. I mean, lost it to the wrong hands. Last summer, I went on a Bahamas cruise with 3 of my girlfriends. We had just finished a brutal semester, and the plan was simple drink, tan, party, repeat. Our first night off the boat was on Paradise Island. We hit the beach bars hard. I was already a few drinks in when my friend Messina asked me to grab her another. I went up, ordered, and waited. While we were standing there, I took out my phone to snap a selfie of us with our drinks. I remember it vividly, the flash, her laughter, the condensation on the glasses. That's the last time I saw my phone. I must have left it on the bar when Messina ran off, and I instinctively followed her drinks in both hands. I didn't realize until we were back on the boat, and by then it was too late. I panicked. I cried. I hated myself. But when I opened my laptop and checked Find My iPhone, it was still on the ship. At first, I felt relief. Someone must have found it, maybe turned it into Lost and Found. Nope. Nobody had. That's when it got weird. Every time I checked the location, it was near me. Sometimes right on top of me, at the pool, in the arcade, even in the hallway outside my room. Always close. Too close. I started to suspect Taylor, one of the girls I wasn't exactly tight with. We'd had drama before. I noticed she'd smirk every time I brought up the phone. Not enough to accuse her, but enough to wonder. Eventually, I confronted her. I showed her my screen. The dot was right beside me. She laughed, called me paranoid, said I was just embarrassed because I lost it. I told her to empty her bag. She did. Nothing. I felt stupid. But then, that night, someone slid something under my cabin door. An envelope. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter. It was messy, shaky. Like someone writing with their non-dominant hand. It said, "I found your phone unlocked. You're even more beautiful in real life. I hope you don't mind that I've been watching you. I think we're meant to meet." Bart Vinsky. I almost threw up. He had my name, my pictures, my contacts. And now, he knew where I was staying. I ran to security. They logged the complaint but told me there wasn't much they could do. I spent the rest of the cruise terrified. I barely left my room. I skipped dinners. My friends thought I was overreacting. We made it back home. My dad picked me up at the port and drove me back to our house. I thought it was over. Until that night. I was sitting on my bed, laptop open, watching trash TV. On a whim, I opened Find My iPhone again. The dot was inside my house. Right. On top of my bedroom. I screamed. My dad burst into the room. He saw the screen, grabbed a shotgun, and ran outside. A few seconds later, I heard him fire a warning shot into the air. Then I heard yelling. Then I heard running. Some guy jumped our side fence and took off down the street. When we went to check the backyard, we found a ladder leaned against the wall, right underneath my bedroom window. The wood latch had been cut halfway through. A few more minutes, and he would have been inside. If I had gone to sleep without checking, I wouldn't be telling you this story. We filed a police report, deactivated the phone. I changed all my passwords, deleted every cloud file, and started over. But I still wonder what he copied, what he saved, what he remembers. It's been 2 weeks. I haven't seen him again. But I still wake up at night listening for the creak of the window. Because now I know what it feels like. When the thing you lost starts finding you. Story 3. The last drink at sea. There's something romantic about working on a cruise ship. Or, at least I thought so. I'm a bartender and a social one. I've always loved the chaos of late nights, the clink of glasses, the blur of strangers passing through. So when I landed a position on a 12-day transatlantic cruise with Royal Caribbean, it felt like a dream come true. The cruise ran from Miami to Portugal with a few stops in Europe. 5 straight days at sea, then ports, then freedom. I told myself I'd finally get to visit my family in Lyon afterward. That's what I was looking forward to. That and one passenger. He first came to my bar on the second night. Late. Alone. He was handsome, maybe late 30s, tall, clean-shaven, salt and pepper hair, sharp green eyes. Not flashy, not loud, just sad. There was a heaviness in his face, like he was carrying something he didn't want to talk about. For the first few nights, he didn't say much, just ordered whiskey neat, sat in the same stool every time, stared out at the ocean like it owed him something. Eventually, I asked his name. Sebastian, he said. He told me he was escaping. His wife, Sasha, had cheated on him. With his best friend, Charles. He said both names slowly, deliberately, like they burned his tongue. I needed distance, he said. The sea's the only thing big enough to hold what I'm feeling. I pitied him. And I liked him. More than I should have. On the night before our scheduled port stop in Ponta Delgada, he stayed even later than usual. The ship rocked gently. The bar had cleared. I was polishing glasses. He looked up at me and smiled. It was the first time I'd seen anything other than sadness in his face. "You've made this trip bearable," he said. "Let me return the favor. Let me buy you a drink." It wasn't the first time I'd been offered one. I usually declined. But something about him, the vulnerability, the quiet charm, made me pause. He insisted on pouring the drink himself. I led him behind the bar. He handled the bottles with steady, practiced movements. The drink tasted fine. But halfway through it, the room tilted. The lights dimmed. My chest tightened. My vision blurred like someone had turned off the sharpness setting in my brain. The last thing I remember is trying to hold on to the edge of the bar. Then black. I woke up in my cabin, tied to the bed, a towel stuffed into my mouth. The room looked like it had been torn apart by a wild animal. Drawers open, luggage missing, jewelry gone, safe empty. But my clothes were untouched. That single detail saved me from total collapse. Room service found me an hour later. By then, we had already left Jamaica, the next port. Sebastian. He was gone. Security reviewed the footage. He had disembarked early, right after Ponta Delgada. Never returned. He used his real name, real passport. But when police looked into it, it all fell apart. The address, fake. The phone number disconnected. Jobs, all dead ends. He'd vanished. I took time off, tried to heal, tried to forget. Until one afternoon, a blank envelope appeared at my apartment door. Inside was a photo. Me, walking to my car, taken from a distance. A week later, another photo. Me at the grocery store. Then another at the mall. One at the laundromat. Each one closer than the last. I told the police. They took notes, but they didn't seem to know what to do. Then one night, I heard it. A soft knock at my bedroom window. The glass vibrated, barely audible but unmistakable. When I looked, no one was there, but there was a handprint from the outside. I moved the next day, changed my number, erased every trace of myself I could. Since then, no more photos, no more envelopes. But I still check my curtains every night. I still keep a glass of water by the bed, not because I'm thirsty, but because I want to know if anything moves. Sometimes I still see his face in crowds, and when I do, I look away. Because if I make eye contact again, he might think I'm ready for another drink. 3 people, 3 different destinations, but the fear they faced shared the same essence. Not everything that boards the ship with you has a return ticket. The strangers we meet, the glances we dismiss, the moments we brush off as coincidence. Sometimes they're the first signs of a nightmare that never ends. Thank you for watching until the end. If you've ever had a similar experience or simply want to share the most intense fear you've ever felt, don't hesitate to leave it in the comments. And if you enjoy stories like this, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, and share this video with someone who still thinks traveling is completely safe. Because in the dark, you're not always the only one listening.